Hi, I'm Ross Benjamin of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast and RBWins.com. It is Monday, May the 2nd. Boy, oh boy, where's the time fly? Anyway, Doug Upstone, as always on a Monday, is with me from DocSports.com. Doug, I hope you had a wonderful weekend with your games, your picks, and overall.
Yes, it worked out quite well. Having some nice runs in the NBA, Ross. It continues to shine. So had some more winners on that. Squeaked by. Had Golden. I changed it. I went against decided to dump the point spread. And I took Golden State on the money line.
There you
Turned
go.
out to be a very wise
now
decision.
You're talking my language, Doug.
So that was good. And little, not I shouldn't say little, but a small move in baseball, 6-3. And like I said, our last video, there's just positive signs of things going along as to, and when you do this, as we do, you have a sense of when something is going to start to go well. And that's exactly where I'm at in terms of, how this baseball thing is looking. And you know what? And we and now we got the Stanley Cup playoffs ready to go. So there's
absolutely.
a number of
Starts
really
today.
good things going. Yes, exactly.
So we are taping. This is our Major League Baseball betting edition. And we are going to have a couple free picks for you on Tuesday, May 3rd. But, we always cover certain topics in sports, and it applies to sports betting, and the NBA playoffs is one of them. And we're getting the conference semifinal series underway now. Yesterday, we saw Boston just play a dismal game against Milwaukee. Boy, oh boy, the Bucks, going back to last year, Doug, they didn't seem to be a great defensive team during the regular season last year or this year. But when the playoffs roll around, they really turn the screws up defensively.
Yeah, well, this was basically a repeat of what we saw last year, but they didn't have this guy all year until the end, which is Brook Lopez. And that really, to me, he's the key. Now he's 34 years old, not a young guy by any stretch of the imagination, but he's 6'11". Yeah. He's got a big body. And then, around the rim. I mean, yesterday, the Celtics, Ross, had 10 made baskets inside of the 2 point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
I mean, they're going to the rim, and every single shot they took was difficult. And that now, does that mean the Bucks are going to win the series at this point? No, I don't think so at all. It's one game. Okay. Boston's going to make some adjustments, but it was impressive as could be in terms of what the Bucks did yesterday to Boston, taking them out of pretty much everything they wanted to do offensively. And then the other thing, and I saw some of this on Twitter, people, I made the comment about Brook Lopez and said, well, they missed all the open shots. Well, I think, maybe they'll make them all on Tuesday, but the one thing is that it got in their heads.
Sure it did. Hey, it's not always about blocking a shot. It's the contested shots that linger in one's mind the next time they go up. It's like, where's this guy going to come from now? Who's behind? I mean, the help defense was excellent by Milwaukee yesterday. Super. And, actually Boston shot fairly well from the 3-point line. It's like you said, Doug, inside it, it's unheard of. They had more, I believe they had more 3-point field goal makes than they did 2-point makes. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct also. Yes.
Yeah, which is a real oddity, especially at playoff time.
Well, and that's the other thing too, that people don't realize about the Bucks defense and the setup of their defense. They have been under Budenholzer. Yep. They have been terrible against 3-point shooting teams because the focus of the defense is protecting the lane and protecting the rim. They have never done a great job. I don't believe they've ever finished in the top, at least the top half of the NBA in 3-point percentage defense. I don't think they ever have with him as their coach in the last few years, because of their focus is the other side. Okay. So that's like, if they make 23s, well, then good for them.
Yeah.
Yep. And leave it at that. But you know what? We're going to protect the rim. And that's exactly what they do. So, so if people shouldn't be surprised, if about the threes, and it's just a matter of if they go off, but boy, if they can stop the other ways, Bucks are tough, and even without Middleton, I mean, Allen, where's this? I mean, now he's obviously probably the most hated player in the NBA, and there's no question. Even I think he's definitely
still a good player though. People don't realize that he gets that dirty tab in reputation, and rightfully so, you know, but the guy could play. I mean, he's a great 3-point shooter. He's tough. And he brings a lot to the table, especially during playoff time when things get really physical. So, yeah.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that he seems to have gotten really comfortable late in the season when they started him coming off the bench.
Yeah.
You know, because his 3-point shooting is improved dramatically, and his confidence level also in the latter stages of the season when they made that switch. You know, and then Holiday right now. Oh, my goodness, is he playing well?
He was great in the postseason last year too, Doug, if you remember. I mean, he's a lot stronger than people realize. I mean, he's a big guard. He's not like his brother. He goes 6'5", 6'6", if I'm not mistaken. If correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think he's a little shorter, but he's so physically strong.
Yes,
I mean, that's the big thing. And then like, you know, I forget I think it was against Jaylen Brown the one time. I mean, Brown had the ball. I mean, Brown's bigger. And he was dribbling, and he just attacked the ball, tapped it away, you know, and it was just it's what he does, you know, when he decides to, you know, play that sort of defense and just really come after a guy like, you know, in the finals last year, he just ate up, you know, both Paul and Booker, you know, just individually in that series.
In your face type of defense. and, you know, very underrated offensively. And that's where I was going with this. Even if he is 6'2", 6'3", whatever the case may be, he's extremely strong. So he's got the ability to take a guard his size down low and make them look tiny, because he just out physicals them to the basket, and he's able to elevate over them as well. So definitely a key cog in her success last year, and looks like it's on the way to doing the same thing this year. But let's slow down a little. Like Doug said, it's only 1-0 in the series, and the Celtics aren't going to give up easily. The other series, like you just alluded to, boy, oh boy, people had to be pulling their hair out yesterday if they had Golden State minus the 2 or 2.5 with Klay Thompson missing 2 free throws with 6 seconds to go. An 80-plus shooter from the free throw line in his career. Then, you know, Ja Morant had an excellent chance to win the game at the end. So what a finish that was. And, you know, Doug, I'm glad you did that, because I've been preaching that all year long. And not to you in particular, but why people ask me, why do you take the money line? Well, number one, if you're laying 2, 2.5, 1.5, and they want to give you 135 or less, why wouldn't you take the money line? We don't hesitate to do it in baseball, but for whatever reason, when it comes to the NBA or even college basketball, we hesitate to do so. By the way, folks, 16 NBA money line picks, similar to what Doug did yesterday, 16-0 this year, 23-1 since last year. Numbers don't lie, and liars don't figure. So I look forward to this series too, this Golden State Memphis series. I think this is going to be a back and forth series. The only thing I will say is, when you see a number 7 seed as a favorite in game 1 against a number 2 seed, that's, you know, not a good sign for the number 2 seed, number 1. And number 2, it's rightfully so, though. I mean, when you look at Golden State's core and the playoff experience they have against a Memphis team that's still extremely young, it's no surprise to me that they opened as a favorite in game 1 on the road. But I do think this is minimum, it's going to go 6 games, in my opinion.
I would agree completely on that. Yeah, there's nothing there that leads you to believe that it's this, you know, I mean, the offenses are so good, and then the artistry of the game. That was the other thing that yesterday, you know, I mean, Memphis gets that ball and they just get it down the floor in a hurry. And so from a coaching standpoint, I thought it was a really interesting game, because they both had, you know, Memphis wanted to push it every single time. And then Golden State noticed time and time again where they got those breakaway layups off rebounds, because Memphis didn't always get back. Okay. They sent too many guys to get rebounds. There wasn't somebody back, so they could make that half court pass or over the half court pass, and all of a sudden they're making layups, you know, mostly uncontested. So it was a great game to watch. It was highly entertaining. And boy, you know, like, I agree with you. It's hard to think this won't go 6 games at least, you know, on this one.
Well, I was pretty happy with the result because I had the over 220 and
There you
the
go.
final score was 117, 116. And my 10-star top plays now, folks, those are my best bets. I only give out one of those a day max, and 16-3 with my last 19 10-star top plays in the NBA, 23-12 since April the 1st. Doug, the other two series get underway today as we're taping. Again, we're taping on Monday the 3rd or 2nd, excuse me. Philadelphia and the Philadelphia and Miami series comes with an asterisk tonight as Joel Embiid. He took that elbow in the last game against Atlanta, and he suffered a concussion. So he's going to be out for at least game 1, possibly game 2. That really puts a damper in the 76ers chances. It was going to be tough anyway, but maybe they could steal one without Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, everybody else it literally has to step up. And the only question I have is just that he's the centerpiece of the offense. That's not to say they can't win, but like compared to earlier in his career, where he was really pretty much often injured, that has not been the case, much the last couple of years, or maybe even 3 years. And so with that, he's such an important cog. But the spread, I mean, that's a big number, 7.5, for example, tonight. That's a big number, and depending on how they play, I mean, they're going to have to hit a lot of outside shots. And, the other thing too is that Miami, I mean, Butler's not 100% healthy. Okay, we saw that. So there's some give and take here in some situational plays that either require you to really have to think about how this is going to play out, and both the side and the total for that matter. And is it worth it either side? Is that enough points, or is it too many? That's a good question. But then the other one, Phoenix and Dallas, I think I think Phoenix intriguing. Wins the series.
Yes.
But Dallas can make things tough, and even tough in game 1, because that defense is going to, it's going to come to play. And so that's a big deal from that standpoint. And we don't know exactly if Booker's completely healthy yet either.
Yeah, he had 13 points in 32 minutes in game 6, the clinching game over New Orleans. But we have to give him a pass because he missed 4 games going into that. So possibly he shook off the rust. And also, we got to remember that Dallas played the first 3 games of their series against Utah without Luka Doncic. Well, Luka Doncic, I got that right. Okay. Again, because I know people correct me with my pronunciation on names. If you want every name pronounced specifically right, Doug, we have to tell them to go and play fantasy, because we're here to beat the point spread. All right. We'll do the best we can with that. In any event, that shapes up to be a very intriguing series. 2 teams that needed to go 6 games in their opening round to advance. Both were without their stars, with Doncic missing 3 of the 6 games and Booker missing 4 of the 6 games for Phoenix. So we'll see what happens. Again, Dallas is good defensively. I get that, but part of their good defensive numbers also comes with the pace they play at.
Right.
Because if you look at the pace they play at, they're in the low 80s, which is most times than not in the low 80s, even sometimes in the high 70s. And, it's one thing if you're shooting in the low 80s and high 70s and you're shooting 50+%. Okay. Because, there's going to be no second chance opportunities because you're making most of your shots. But with Dallas throughout that Utah series, they were in the mid 40s. And both teams struggled in their opening series, allowing their opponents to get to the free throw line a lot more than average. Okay. I believe Dallas allowed 26 free throw attempts per game in the Utah series, and Phoenix allowed 29. So keep that in mind too when you're evaluating the total. Okay, let's get to our Major League Baseball free picks for Tuesday, May the 2nd or May the 3rd. Boy, oh boy, these dates. Anyway, we're showing our age, Doug. I'm showing my age, I should say. Doug's doing fine. Anyway, Doug, we'll start with you, my friend.
All right. Well, we've been talking about great series, and I think I got one also that actually starts Monday night, which is the New York Yankees at Toronto. These two teams are neck and neck in the AL East, and so there's a good chance, I think, that could stay that way with with an I shouldn't say an outside chance, because Tampa Bay seems to always be in the mix. But these two teams look talent-wise, like they're going to be really tough and be there all year. So this will be the middle game of the series, and features, I think, a pretty good pitching matchup with James Santillan going up against Alek Manoah. And this one, now Talian's 1-1 so far, Ross, this year. It's with a 3.26 ERA, but he's just 1-3 against Toronto lifetime. And one of those losses occurred back on April 11th when they lost 3-0 to Toronto and Manoah at Yankee Stadium. Now, the Yankee bats of late, man, oh man, they've been hot. Okay, they've won 9 in a row, 11 out of 12, scoring in their last 7. They scored 8.3 runs per game. Now Manoah, he has been sensational this year. Added another pitch, okay, which also, and a slight alteration in his delivery, made him a little bit more consistent. So he started 4-0 with a 1.44 ERA, and against the Yankees, or the Bronx Bombers in this case, they've won all 3 games that he started against them. Now, the line in this one opened at -135 for Toronto, and it quickly fell to just above 120. I'm looking at this one though, Ross. I mean, the Yankees have been great, and there's a lot of reasons to like them here, but they've played weaker teams, okay, during this streak. And so from that standpoint, I just don't know. Now, it's not like the Blue Jays are playing poorly. They're 9-3 in their last dozen. Yes, their offense hasn't been as potent, but they've also faced far better starting pitching and bullpens across the board. So, you know what? I think New York's going to lose eventually. They might even lose Monday night. Okay. I don't think that's going to happen. But if they don't, I like my pick even more on Tuesday with the Jays, because with Manoah pitching, they are 15-2 as a favorite of -110 or higher, or when the line is -100 to -150. Manoah and the Jays are 9-0. So
Ooh.
I got Toronto -121.
Very underrated pitcher. I think he did come up from the minors last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and he's got the Yankees number. 3 starts. He went over 5 innings in each one of those outings, and his ERA was under 2 against the Yankees. But like Doug alluded to, his ERA has been good all year in the 4 starts, and last year too. And then you come up with that stat as a money line favorite of 110 or more, 15-2 with Manoah. And if it's -100 to -150, 9-0. So falls right into that money line parameter. Yeah, the Yankees have hit 17 home runs over their last 7 games. And like I alluded to earlier last week, that we got to keep an eye on the Yankees if you can get a favorable number, because eventually they're going to start hitting. Well, this is a favorable number tonight and tomorrow, but you got to look at the starting pitching matchups. And boy, oh boy, Manoah is tough, and he's certainly tough on the Yankees. Can't disagree with you, Doug. Not such a great series, but I'm going to cover it anyway. The opening game of the series, the Cincinnati Reds at the Milwaukee Brewers, and it'll be Vladimir Gutierrez going for Cincinnati, and it'll be Brandon Woodruff on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers, a pair of right-handers. That game goes at 7:40 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, May 3rd. Well, the Cincinnati Reds, you just can't get off to a worse start. I guess you can. I mean, they're 3-17 or 3-19. I guess you could be 0-22, But
well, Baltimore was it 3 or 4 years ago? Baltimore was 1-21.
Yeah, that's why I hesitated when I said you can't get off to a worse start, because I recall the Orioles. Yeah. Anyway, 1-17 in their last 18 games, Doug, Cincinnati. On top of that, 16 of those 17 losses have come by 2 runs or more. And Milwaukee's starting to play good ball. Now, they lost to the Cubs yesterday, but they're still 11-3 over their last 14 games. And Gutierrez from the Reds, 0-4 in his team starts this year with a large 7.41 ERA and a 1.94 WHIP. That 1.94 WHIP tells me that ERA could be even worse, if not for his ability to get out of some jams. Cincinnati's hit only 15 home runs this year in 22 games. A team that's been a power-laden team over the last few seasons, but that's not the case getting out of the gate this year. And that comes to an average of 0.68 home runs per game. Why is that important? Because since the start of last season, the Milwaukee Brewers have gone 13-0 against any team they face that averages 0.75 or less home runs per game. And they won those 13 games by an average of 3.6 runs per contest. Brandon Woodruff had a rough outing in his opener against the Cubs, but since then 3-0 in his last three with a 2.40 ERA and a 1.07 WHIP. First start of the year against Cincinnati coming up on Tuesday. However, last year he made 3 starts against the Reds and was dominant against the Red Legs with a 1.02 ERA in those 3 starts. So I'm going to lay the 1.5 and take Milwaukee minus 1.5 on the run line at a fairly reasonable price, folks, minus 105. Get down early on this because I think we're going to see this move to somewhere around minus 120 when it's all said and done. So I'm going to take Milwaukee minus 1.5 over Cincinnati at money line odds and minus 105. And Doug Upstone, he likes the Toronto Blue Jays at minus 120. Is it, Doug?
Yeah, just right around there. Yes,
all right,
that's
right
correct.
around
Yep.
minus 120 over the Yankees. And folks, don't forget, again, I had some smart ass jump in the other day when I gave out a total of 8 last week, the Mets in Philadelphia. I gave, again, 24 hours in advance. The line came down to, and I did preface and say it's only 8 at DraftKings.
Yep.
And 7.5 everywhere else. Well, the next day it went down to 7. And somebody jumped in and said, like, I'm trying to give out false lines to improve my chances. But lo and behold, the final score was 3-0 the Mets. It just didn't matter. And guess what? The Mets pitchers combined to have a no-hitter in that game. Anyway, Doug, tell the folks what you got coming up this week. And again, refresh their memory on how well you've been doing in the NBA and your mini run you got going on right now in Major League Baseball.
Yes, and the Ross, excited with what's going on. And Tuesday, I'm looking at a play, like I said, 49-23 at the Doug Upstone page at Doc Sports in the NBA of late, wow. 68% right on the nose. And in my best bets, which is 5 units or higher, 20-8. So even better on my best bets. So that's the case. And I'm all but certain I'm going to have a best bet on Tuesday with one of the 2 games. So you can check that out at the Doug Upstone page at Doc Sports. Like I said, baseball starting to, rev up a little bit here. I mentioned the other day, I am so revved up for the Stanley Cup playoffs. We got Monday night, we got Tuesday night, and we're just going to roll all the way till somewhere near the end of June with this stuff. So I'm excited that. And Ross, I mentioned the other day, the Kentucky Derby this Saturday. We got that coming up. And so
maybe you can give the folks a little bit of a preview on Thursday, Doug.
On Thursday, I can throw some stuff out there for things to look at, especially some long shots.
Yeah, yep. And not only a pick, but just some of your mindset when it comes to handicapping races of that magnitude. It doesn't get much bigger than the Kentucky Derby, but grade A races. You know what I mean? What's your mindset and compared to little tidbits you could share with the audience and myself, because I'm interested. I go to the racetrack about twice a year, but I'm not proficient at it. And I know that you do a lot of stuff with horse racing. Last year during COVID, Doug was doing horse racing every day. And I tuned in all the time because, it was just intriguing stuff to listen to. The guy knows what he's talking about. Anyway, myself, the NBA going along very well, as I alluded to earlier. Since April 1st, 23-12, good for 66%, cashed with my 10-star top play on Sunday with the over in the Memphis and Golden State game. If you catch this video on time, I'm taping on Monday. Monday night, I have a 10-star top play in the opening game of the Phoenix and Dallas series. And that goes at 10 o'clock Eastern, folks. My 10-star top plays right now, which are my best bets. It's just a trademark I use, 10-star top play, 16-3 with my last 19. That's good for I believe 88%. So I've been on a nice roll. Let's put it that way. Major League Baseball, like Doug, I started off losing one, winning one, losing one, winning one. But over the last week, 6-2 with my last 8 in Major League Baseball, 3-0 at my top 10-star top plays in Major League Baseball this year. Going back to last year, 45-23 on Major League Baseball 10-star top plays. A lot to look forward to. You can find Doug at docsports.com. You could find me at rbwins.com. Folks, don't forget, you get 100% guarantee from me that if you lose your game, I'll credit your account back exactly what your purchase price was, and all new registrants get a $100 sign-up bonus. Until the next time, for Ross Benjamin and Doug Upstone, take care and good luck and God bless, folks.